Hello Mark, my name is Peter, and my student number is 55, and I'm a freshman. Now, I'm going to read a speech. Tasos Frantzolas, everything you hear on film is a lie. I want to start by doing an experiment. I'm going to play the 3 video of a raining day, but I have replaced the audio of one of the videos, and instead of the sound of rain, I've added the sound of the bacon frying. So, I want to think carefully which one the clip with the bacon is. Rain falls, rain falls, rain falls. Alright, actually, I lie. They are all bacon. Bacon sizzles. Applause. My point here isn't really to make you hungry every time you see the raining scene, but it's to show that our brains are conditioned to embrace the lie. We're not looking for accuracies. So, on the subject of decision, I want to quote one of my very favorite authors in The Decay of Lying. Oscar Wilde established the idea that all bad art comes from copying nature and being realistic, and all great art comes from lying and deceiving, and telling beautiful, untrue things. So, when you're watching a movie and the phone rings, it's not actually ringing. It's being added later in the post-production in the studio. All of the sound you hear are fake. Everything apart from the dialogue is fake. When you watch a movie and you see a bird flapping its wings flap. They haven't really recorded the bird. It sounds a lot more realistic if you record a sheet or shaking kitchen gloves. Flaps. The burning of the cigarette up close. Cigarette burns. It actually sounds a lot more authentic if you take a small saran wet ball and release it. A saran wrap ball being released. Punches, punch. Oops, let me play that again. Punch. That's often done by sticking a knife in vegetables, usually cabbage stabbed with a knife. The next one is breaking bones. Bones break. Well, no one was really harmed. It's actually breaking celery or frozen lettuce. Breaking frozen lettuce or celery. Laughter. Making the right sound is not always as easy as a trip to supermarket and going to the vegetable section, but it's often a lot more complicated than that. So let's reverse engineer together the creation of the sound of effect. One of my favorite stories comes from Frank Serafine. He's a contributor to our library and a great sound designer for Tron and Star Trek and others. He was part of a Paramount team that won Oscar for Best Sound for The Hunt for Red October. In this Cold War classic, in the 90s, they were asked to produce the sound of the propeller of the submarine. So they had a small problem. They couldn't really find a submarine in West Hollywood. So basically, what they did is they went to a friend's swimming pool and friend performed a cannonball or a bomba. They placed an underwater mic and an overhead mic outside the swimming pool. So here's what the underwater mic sounds like. Underwater plunge. Adding the overhead mic, it sounds a bit like this. Water splash. So now they took a sound and pitched it 1 octave down, sort of like slowing down a record. Water splash at lower octave, and they remove a lot of high frequencies. Water splashed and pitch it down another octave. Water splash at lower octave, and then they add a little bit of a splash from the overhead microphone. Water splashes, and by looping and repeating the sound, they got this popular charms. So, creativity and technology put together in order to create the illusion that we were inside the submarine. But once you have created your sounds and you have seen them to the image, you want those sounds to live in the world of the story. And one of the best way to do that is to add reverb. So this is the first audio tool I want to talk about, reverberation or reverb. It's the persistence of the sound after the original sound has ended. So it's sort of like all the reflections from the materials, the object, and the world around the sound. Take, for example, the sound of gunshot. The original sound is less than half a second long. Gunshot. By adding reverb, we can make it sound like it was recorded inside the bathroom. Gunshot reverse in the bathroom. Or like it was recorded inside the chapel or a church. Gunshot reverb church. Or in the canyon. Gunshot reverb in canyon. So, reverb gives us a lot of information about the space between the listener and the original sound source. If the sound is the taste, then reverb is sort of like the smell of the sound. But reverb can do a lot more. Listening to a sound with a lot reverberation than the one scream action is going to immediately signify to us that we are listening to a commenter, to an objective narrator that's not participating in on-screen action. Also, emotionally intimate motion in cinema are often here with zero reverb, because that's how it would sound if someone was speaking inside our ear. On the completely other side, adding a lot of reverb to the voice is going to make us think that we're listening to a flashback, or perhaps that we're inside the head of a character, or that we're listening to the voice of God. Or, even more powerful in film, Morgan Freeman, laughter. So, applause. But what are some other tools or hacks that sound designers use? Well, here's a really big one. It's silence. A few moments of silence is going to make us pay attention. And in the Western world, we are not really use the verbal silence. They are considered awkward or rude. So, silent preceding verbal communication can create a lot of tension. But imagine a really big Hollywood movie, where it's full of explosion and automatic guns. Loud stop being loud anymore after a while. So, in a yin-yang way, silence needs loudness, and loudness needs silence for either of them to have any effect. But what does silence mean? Well, it depends on how it's used in each film. Silence can place us inside the head of a character of provoked thought. We often relate silence with contemplation, meditation, being deep in thought. But apart from having one meaning, silence becomes the blank canvas upon which the viewer is inviting to paint their own thought. But I want to make it clear. There is no such thing as silence. And I know this sounds like the most pretentious tech talk statement ever. But even you were to enter the room with zero reverberation and zero external sounds, you would still be able to hear the pumping of your own blood. And in cinema, traditionally, there was never silent moment because of the sound of the projector. And even in today's Dolby world, there's not really any more moment of silence if you listen around you. there is always some sort of noise. Voice, music. And here is a recording of Times Square in New York. Traffic sound, car horns, voices. Room tone is the addition of all these noises inside the room. The ventilation, the heating, the fridge. Here's a recording of my apartment in Brooklyn. You can hear the ventilation, the boiler, the fridge, and the street traffic. Ambulances work in the most primal way. They can speak directly to our brain subconsciously. So, birds chirping outside your window may indicate normality. Perhaps because as a species, we have been used to that sound every morning for millions of years. Bird chirp. On the other hand, industrial sounds have been introduced to us a little more recently, even though I really like them personally. They've been used by one of my heroes, David Lynch, and his sound designer, Alan Spillett. Industrial sound often carry negative connotation. Machine noises. Now, sound effects can tap in our emotion memory. Occasionally, they can be so significant that they become a character in a movie. The sound of the thunder may indicate divine intervention or anger. Thunder. Church bells can remind us of passing of time, or perhaps our own mortality. Bells ring. And breaking of glass can indicate the end of the relationship or friendship. Glass breaks. Scientists believe that dissonant sounds, for example, brass or wind instruments play very loud, may remind us of an animal house in nature and therefore create a sense of irritation or fear. Brass and wind instrument play. So now we've been spoken about on-screen sound, but occasionally the source of the sound cannot be seen. That's what we call off-screen sounds or acousmatic sounds. Well, the term acousmatics comes from Pythagoras in ancient Greece, who used to teach behind the veil or curtain for years, not revealing himself to his disciples. I think the mathematician and philosopher thought that, in that way, his students might focus more on the voice and his words and its meaning, rather than the visual of him speaking. So, sort of like the Wizard of Oz or 1984's Big Brother, separating the voice from its source, separating cause and effect sort of creates a sense of ambiguity or panopticism, and therefore authority. There's a strong tradition of acousmatic sound. Nuns in monasteries in Rome and Venice used to sing in rooms up in the galleries close to the ceiling, creating the illusion that we are listening to the angels up in the sky. Richard Wagner famously created the Haydn orchestra that was placed in the pit between the stage and the audience. And one of my heroes, Aphex Twins, famously hide in dark corners of clubs. I think what all these masters knew is that by hiding the source, you create a sense of mystery. This has been seen in cinema over and over, with Hitchcock and Ridley Scott in Alien. Hearing the sound without knowing its source is going to create some sort of tension. Also, it can minimize certain visual restriction and direction have and can show something that wasn't there during filming. And if all this sounds a little theoretical, I wanted to play the little video. Toy squeaks, typewriter, drums, ping pong, knife being sharpened, record scratches, soul cut, woman screams. What I'm sort of trying to demonstrate with this tool is that sound is a language. It can trick us by transporting us geographically. It can change the mood. It can set the pace. It can make us laugh or it can make us scared. On a personal level, I fell in love with that language a few years ago, and somehow managed to make it into some sort of profession. And I think with our work through the sound library, we are trying to kind of expand the vocabulary of that language. And in that way, we want to offer the right tools to sound designers, filmmakers, and video game and app designers to keep telling even better stories and creating even more beautiful lives. So, thanks for listening. Applause.